Okay. Oh, oops. That's my fault, folks. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host. We're going on a quest for truth together. And today, friends, we have a very special guest, Yon Friedman. Welcome, Yon.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
No problem at all. Now, some of our listeners might remember you calling in a few times when Andrew was on, Andrew Bashago. So
Yes.
Some of our listeners are familiar with you. So, but in a nutshell, well, you're a futurist, right?
Oh, you can say I'm a futurist, but I'm in the present because that's the only place we can create things from.
True.
We can't create it from the future or the past.
Right.
Only from the present. So, in a sense, waking up tomorrow is the future. Okay.
Right.
So it makes me a futurist because I plan on doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my focus is present based on my observations and experience as a human being so far in this society.
Mm-hmm.
And my state of perception is from a point of view where I understand that I am a non-physical soul, or spirit you can call it,
Mm-hmm.
having a human life form experience, Yon in this case. And I believe this is true of each and every one of us, is exactly the same construct.
Mm-hmm.
A non-physical being having a human life form experience.
Yeah.
And that life form, goes through the experiences and interpretations, and apparently makes modifications in beliefs. And each time that occurs, there's basically an evolutionary step, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that is experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So, having observed all that's been going on in this world, and doing my best not to be critical, because if I'm critical, then I'm critical of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than that, I wanted to understand what makes it work. How does it work? Where did it begin? How did it all come together in this way? And what I discovered is that the system we live under here at this present time is a centralized, whereby basically there's always some form of ruler controlling or attempting to control the masses.
Mm-hmm.
This apparently has been going on, going back to Mesopotamia, if you want to go that far or further, where the idea of gods came to the planet. They were thought to be gods, but they really were not. But they had probably abilities that perhaps were beyond civilization at the time, which is very likely.
Mm-hmm.
And thus they were made to believe that they were gods, but they were not. So this goes all back to the Anunnaki, where it said that they did some DNA modifications of the civilization that was here at the time, and basically resulted with the present human forms that we are, and basically made them to be subservient, enslaved, so they could apparently go and dig for gold and things like that. And the point is to be subservient. And that seems to be the dominating DNA factor in our humanity here right now. So I also realize that the system we have now cannot be changed. Yes, it could be modified a little here and there, but even the modifications basically are another version of the same thing. Just another way to represent it. So because of that understanding, I realized that, what we probably need to do is focus on a new living system that we literally have to build from scratch. And we can live in and participate and really become a civilization. And in fact, being equivalent to all the extraterrestrials that we've been hearing about for a very long time. Because one of the reasons I suspect we haven't intervened and gotten closer to being involved with them is because we're not on the same level of understanding, whereby I suspect that they recognize themselves as a civilization, but we here humans do not do that yet, because we're living as a centralized system, each being self-serving in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with this idea of building a T.W.I.N.S living system. T.W.I.N.S stands for Trans-Web Infrastructure Network System. I also have it online, by the way, if anyone wants to go to the site, the T.W.I.N.S projects. They can look at the basic information that I posted recently.
Is that your
Facebook? Yes.
Excuse me, is that your Facebook page? Your Facebook page you just put up? Is
yes.
That okay?
On Facebook. Yes.
I'm going to bring that up right now so we can see it.
Okay.
There it is.
And the relevance of it's really a relevant place because over the years I have drafted different proposals using the idea of T.W.I.N.S as the basic foundation. But then I realized that the drafts I did, which was 30 or 40 of them, quite frankly, in different countries, weren't practical at the time. So I kind of dropped the idea and didn't do anything further with it. Recently, though, it has come to my attention that it may be time to bring these ideas back to life and actually start presenting it to the public online, wherever it's possible, so that anyone who wants to be involved in the project in any way are welcome to do so. This is not an ordinary project. In the case of the project for, let's say, for the America, the T.W.I.N.S Project America, I posted that online, by the way. That's the first thing I posted is that particular project. It's the project for the United States.
Okay.
And basically what it involves is building these 5 square mile facilities that are domed and multi-dome, not one dome, but multi-dome. And they are completely self-sustaining in living environments, have educational centers, in a variety of ways to advance our community. The reason that's important is because it's going to create a focus of, let's say, indoor vertical farming, for example. That's a very significant part of this development because each location will develop a different product, but collectively we have a huge farm in operation that is shared with all the T.W.I.N.S locations. Each location is connected by an advanced tube transport system that is vacuum-based. And there's a capsule inside that tube that travels from 300 to 4,000 miles an hour, depending on the distance that one's traveling, of course. Because you're not going to go 4,000 miles an hour if it's a short distance. That makes no sense. But a very quick speed, which is faster than traditional ways, will be available. All of this needs to be constructed, which will create mass employment across America. And the project begins with building the first complex, T.W.I.N.S complex, near Washington, D.C. And that complex is connected to the airport. Now, that's important because it allows travelers by aircraft who land there to have access to the T.W.I.N facility. I realize that as these facilities are expanding across the United States, and each facility will be located at the capital city of each state.
Okay.
That's the idea. So in effect, we're really creating a United States in a physical sense. But this system is sovereign territory, independent of this system, because it is not going to operate under the same conditions, but it will operate under a set of rules, which were of human interest and human protection, because this is also important. This will also allow us to have facilities, as I said, for scientific expansion and investigation. This is very important, too, for growing humanity, if you will, knowledge of the universe. We're not here alone. We've never been here alone. And this is very important to be understanding to the community across the world, not just here. And then we need to start practicing the idea of being a civilization. But to do that, you have to build these T.W.I.N complexes, because there's no way to change the ways of any community or any nation in the world, because they're accustomed to their ways, and we do not want to change their ways. Just give them another option of living as a civilization as part of the rest of the world, and not so much isolated, which is really the case with every nation today, and why we have so many issues and problems. Because the centralized system, of course, is very ruling, and everything is controlled from some central location. And this is why we have economic issues right now, and why it's not going to go away so easily, because there are those inside the system who prefer the system of being very self-serving. Again, I'm not critical of that. I can't be. But I am observant of it as being the reality of what is being practiced. So this is why I came around to doing these projects. I did this project, America. I have another one that I've already drafted for Europe. It's under Project Europe. And that's a very interesting project also, because it begins with discussions between Moscow and Ukraine, where the first 2 units are to be built there for Europe, and connect them with the 2. Now, yes, this conversation that we're now having is a very pro-life conversation, if you will, because it's very constructive. It's not about destructive. Right now, they're practicing destruction. It's a destructive arena.
Yes.
And many nations in the world are focused in that direction. Even the United States. You know, they like war for some reason, but because of the money. Okay? It's a self-serving system. So nothing's really surprising when they do these kind of things, and are supportive of weaponry and wars. I'm not saying a person doesn't have a right to defend themselves, but, you know, weapons don't kill anyone. It's the people who pull the triggers that do.
Right. Well,
Okay.
I just got to say, let me interrupt a little bit here. I think you've got a great idea in that you're not trying to change the world. You're just giving an option. I think that's a great idea. I think that is a really, really good idea.
Yeah, because, you know, I think when I do it this way, and I'm respectful of the system, no matter how much I don't agree with parts of it, so long as I show it respect, it cannot show me anything else but respect.
Yeah.
You know, because that's just how the universe works. So I'm going to continue being positive and continue to see if I'm getting folks to focus on building a new reality, if you will, a real one, not just in theory.
Mm-hmm.
I even did the numbers on this, Aaron. The numbers are done. The American project is going to run, it went done, $452 billion.
Wow.
Numbers all about me. I come from the banking world.
Okay.
And I'm an MBA. I have an MBA. And apparently this was part of the reason I went into that world, is to master the industry and understand how it works so that in the future when I need it, I'll know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did, apparently. And I did the math on the cost of all of this. Even the tubes, how long, the distance, mm-hmm. what it's going to cost each unit is budgeted at $1 billion.
Wow.
But that's not a lot of money anymore in today's society. The United States gave Ukraine $40 billion so far. $40 billion.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
So how is less than that going to be an issue? It can't be. And not only that, if we come to Ukraine and Moscow and say, hey, boys, time to stop the war, let's build something that both of you are going to really benefit from. It's going to be self-sustaining. It could produce food. It's not going to need anything from outside ever. Even the power is produced. The water is produced. The food is produced. Living is produced. Educational facilities are produced, which I think is the most important, where from kindergarten through 12th grade, there's going to be years where students will be put into, the first thing will be a gardening class, where students at age 10 will learn how to garden and learn how to plant from seed, mm-hmm. and then put the harvest. And then after that, when they're a little older, they're going to want, if they want to learn a trade, they'll be taught a trade, so they have a skill. And by the time they get to the 11th grade, that's where they're going to learn about business, because that's the world they're coming into. And when they get to the 12th grade, now they start to apply for fiction names to operate under, if that's what they want to do. But they'll be equipped to know how to do these things. And if they don't want to go legal or go into the system, easily employed or starting their own business. But the point is, Aaron, we're making everyone self-sustaining and self-controlled. Because that's how the truth is. But this system won't do that because it's programmed. This is a ruling system, so its education is always based on ways to continue the rule, mm-hmm. not just in knowledge. That's not what it's for. And so the T.W.I.N system is contrary to that. It's about teaching, about learning, mm-hmm. about opening every possible avenue for every possible human who wants to know anything they want to know. Nice. From a truth perspective. That's what you're about to. Truth quest.
Yeah.
Exactly what we...
That's what it's all about, the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. So, at this point, my intention is to discuss and expose the idea. And anyone who's interested, by all means, communicate with me by email, by telephone, any way you wish. Because I would be very happy to discuss any aspect of the idea. Because I think we deserve this.
Yeah.
We all deserve to be really what we are. We are free souls. Mm-hmm. Responsible for everything we do personally in our life. Personally. No one does anything to us. No one can do anything to us unless we allow it. So don't allow it if you don't want it. It's your life, you're right. That's how life is.
So your email address, what's your email address so we can put it up on the screen for everybody?
twinsprojects@yahoo.com.
Twins Projects.
Oh, yes. And my phone number, you are happy to share that. They can text me, 213-648-9494.
Okay. All right. Twins Projects at yahoo.com, and your numbers. I'm not going to put that in the chat, but I will just say it again. 213-648-9494. There you go.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I will continue to post project ideas on the Twins Projects site because I think some of these things are a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
My last one that came to my attention, I haven't started yet, but I will soon, is a project for Brazil. That's the only nation in that part of the world that's still free in a sense. And I'm going to take a look to see how we can maybe build a transport system with twin stations to make them fully self-sustaining. So the nation will never have to be dependent on anyone again. Same thing with America. That's what's going to happen here if we do this. We're not going to need anyone anymore.
I want to ask you a quick question. I put your email up. It's Twins Projects, plural? Twins Projects?
Yes, plural.
Okay, good. I got it right. Oh, good.
Yes.
Carry on.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And I will all be, like I said, I was going to be posting the Euro Twins project idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another one that I'm going to also post. But there'll be several. I'll do every week or so if I can, 1 or 2 months. Mm-hmm. But again, it's to bring attention to the idea because I think it's very worthwhile to do. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very doable. But one person cannot do this.
Yeah, you don't think?
Okay.
You don't think?
I know. Cross my mind for a moment. So yeah, I guess at this point it seems that I'm gathering a team to do this in some way. And by the way, you are part of that team, from my perception.
Thank you.
The fact that you, honestly, the fact you agreed to have me do this with you here, that in itself is a demonstration. So in my world, that's loyalty, and you deserve the same back, and that's what you will always get from me.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. You know, Yon, when I was young, I watched the moon landing, and the future looked bright. The future looked glorious. It looked beautiful and wonderful. I couldn't wait for it. And now that it's here, it's like, wait a minute. Something went wrong here. Something went desperately wrong. So I'm glad that you're doing this, and I'm glad that other people are joining you too to do this, because it's a really cool idea.
Thank you. I think it's very timely because, like I began a conversation, there's no way to change the system. I don't care who somebody thinks they are. Mm-hmm. But the only thing they can do is simply modify it into just another version of itself. Mm-hmm. That's all they can do. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in changing the system. I think it's perfect for what it is. But I am interested in building a new one in parallel, to existing parallel to this one. Because then people will have a choice of where they want to live. as a civilization, or under the still, self-serving rule concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not wrong, it's just a choice.
Yeah.
Because they have to realize that we all make our choice of our life. It's not happening to us. None of it. None of it. And it's all very positive, even though we have moments of challenge. And when we do, if we can learn to identify that as an opportunity rather than any negative effect, which it isn't really, unless you give it that value. So if you give it a value of opportunity, it can only result that way. Only. And it does. And you don't have to know how. That's the beauty of it. It'll show you when it's ready and you're ready to bring it to yourself. And you always do. So this is part of what I like to bring forth in these T.W.I.N.S projects. Recognition of self-responsibility, that we really are the creators on a personal level of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no God in charge of us. There's no religion in charge of us. None of that is true unless you want to give it your power. Yeah, you have that right, you see. Don't say they're doing it to you because it's not the truth.
Okay.
It's not.
I have an idea for your T.W.I.N.S project here. While you're in the process, when you get all the funding and everything and all the people that you need, once you start working on the tunnels, they're not going to be done right away, for traveling. Maybe by that time, in the near future here, Andrew Basiago will have become president and released his teleportation technology. Then you could use that possibly as well.
Well, actually, I do mention that in the proposal, by the way.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you do. Good.
Oh, yeah, because I clearly know that the tubes is just one way that we're going to connect these stations.
Mm-hmm.
And the second way is going to be through teleportation units, you see.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to come around until probably near the end of this decade, maybe 2028, some 29, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, because I feel that at that point, I feel that Andy will be in position to do a lot of stuff. So I feel strongly that we need to work together on this, and the teleportation is a very significant part of my proposal. But I didn't, and I actually put links on the proposal so people could actually click and view teleportation activity that actually has occurred.
Awesome.
Including the Philadelphia experiment,
Mm-hmm.
which was on today online. They showed the wrinkled chip. That was a teleportation event. You know that,
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, it was what it was. That's when I think they were experimenting with it. Put it anywhere they want in the world without needing to sail there. That was the whole point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe by now they perfected it. Maybe that's their primary defensive tool. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But teleportation is important, and it should definitely be made available to the general public because there's so many benefits. The only restriction you're going to have in resistance is probably from the transportation industry, the automotive fields, the airlines, all those who are currently providing transport services,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to view this as a competitor. But again, I realize that too, and why I put it in stations in the T.W.I.N.S complexes, because it's not competing with the outside system that continues to do its airplanes and automobiles and ships and all that stuff they do.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in our complexes, our T.W.I.N.S complexes, which is where it'll be, then we're all just doing our own internal stuff. We're not interfering with anyone outside. But if somebody outside wants to come into our unit and go someplace in a distance, they're welcome to use it. But it's not going to be part of this system, because I feel that we don't want to make the system the enemy. It's got enough enemies internally. It doesn't need more from us.
Right. Right.
So this is all going to be good. I see this as very, very positive and optimistic. I see leadership like Andrew Basiago is very, very significant for our American society and collective, and the world, not just America. Because the whole focus idea will be on becoming self-sustaining nation. Because then we don't have to deal anymore with places like Russia, places like China, places like, all these other third world countries that are being abused and used to produce products that are not, not really very good in some cases. And to, again, change their way, it's not going to happen. Even if, you can bring the manufacturing to America, which is what apparently Donald Trump was attempting to do and did, and why there was such success with the economics. This was a problem for China.
Yeah.
And Russia.
Oh, yeah.
A real big problem, because right now they have America very dependent on what they produce. That's not a healthy condition for America.
No.
But again, you're not going to tell those running the country to change their way, because this is part of the action, piece of the action that they get. They can deny it, but I'm sure they're getting something in return for their point of view.
Yeah. That
is not pro-America.
No.
That is pro-them personally.
Right.
So again, this is, the society we're living in, Aaron, and I'm not here to change it. I'm here to present another option that I feel is very united and formed and truly identifies us as a human civilization, not pieces, not different colors, not different origins, none of that. The only thing we have to do is look down and see that you're standing on the same planet, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if that's all it takes, let's stay with that. That's our common denominator. We're all standing on the same planet. That's the fact.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what else you believe.
Exactly.
Look down, see where your feet are.
Yeah.
See where your feet are. And then we can go ahead and do something like this. Build an honest and progressive, aggressive, and prosperous civilization that is not self-serving. Because each unit, each location has a specialty, producing a specialty. But everyone shares everything they produce.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I have up on the screen here your Facebook page, and specifically the two pictures you have of the United States with the tubes, the maps, and that other figure 1, which looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 domes on top of the water, and there's an infrastructure below it. It looks like it's connected by tubes. Is this like?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I tell you what that is. Well, what that is, that's a patent that I received.
Oh, wow.
When I first came up with, I got this patent for the idea to first build this twin system in the oceans, across the oceans.
Okay.
And build 12 units, 12 of these units that you see, figure 1, across the oceans, and link them all with the tubes, as you see.
Sure.
The extension, the tubes, and below the surface.
Uh-huh.
Now, that idea is where we can travel thousands of miles per hour, you see. And because of the 12 locations, each location is connected to a land somewhere near them. So suddenly it becomes a global system. But I realized that I couldn't really build the ocean system because people don't live in the ocean yet.
Right.
So I have to bring it to the land. But on the land, the units will look like this, the top portion, and down to the tubes. But the lower portion where you see the chains attached to the ground, the floor of the ocean, and on the side you see this stand there, that won't be included because you don't need it.
Okay.
But you are going to, the top portion of that unit with the multiple domes that you see, each dome, under each dome, there's a different function, different operation going on.
Okay.
That's why there's 6 of them. And the middle one is solar energy collector.
Okay.
That's what we're going to get around.
Nice.
Much of it. Yeah. And then, of course, the photo on the left of that is a photo of how this system will be connected across the United States, connecting all the capital cities of every state.
Interesting.
And, well, and also realize, we have to build each one of these, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to put people in from outside to do this. No, we're going to hire our own people to do this. But something that's going to be different that they don't know yet, and I haven't proposed yet. Anyone who works on the project is going to own a piece of the project. That's the way I want to do this.
Awesome. And
in addition to getting money of some kind to sustain themselves. Because I want them to be happy. I want them to be prosperous. This is how a civilization lives. They live supporting each other, being kind to each other, not selfish, not self-serving. That's the way I see it. So this is why I think this is a really, really good idea. I cannot do this myself, clearly, but I am open to anyone and everyone, if necessary, to get involved from A to Z.
wow.
And this is the idea. This is a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
We deserve to be independent.
Again,
it goes back to the basic idea. As I said, we're non-physical souls having a human life or experience. Okay? So, if that's the fact, the same thing has to be true here. That's how we're going to live in these twins complexes. Independent and free, respectful, very, very prosperous.
Interesting.
And very educated. Very educated.
So would there be a monetary system too, and an education system and everything?
Yes, there will be an educational system for sure. As I previously said, each grade from kindergarten to 12 will have a specific educational function in addition to this, the basics, language, math, science, those basics. However, we need to know more than that. We need to know about history, the truth about history, not the fiction. So this is the kind of things we're going to learn. And we're going to learn by doing the research, not by just taking somebody's word.
Yeah.
And that's going to be part of the educational process. You got to do the research. You can't just take what somebody wrote down and said to you, because this is a world of fiction and deceptions. So no matter what they say, you got to watch out. There may be some deception going on. So this is the truth, and this is how we need to build this new way. Which ones? And no longer be, self-serving about anything. About anything. And live as a civilization, because that's what we really are. We're one civilization. Even though, today you hear in news media all about the separate components that people want to look at. What it is. But it's not the truth. So once we start to see ourselves as a non-physical soul having this life as an experience, it's a totally different perspective of your life and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're going to pay a lot of attention to what you do because you know you're responsible for your life. Nothing has happened to you. It's very important to understand that. Because if one believes that things are happening to you, it's like putting yourself and quoting yourself as a slave indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true. It's just, unless you want to be a slave, you have that right and power. But don't tell me that God or that person or that company or that government is doing it to you. They can't unless you agree and cooperate. So don't play in their arena. Play in a different arena.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's no common denominator between you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the idea of twins, a different arena. Complete different arena.
Great idea. Great idea.
And I'd be very happy to have further conversations with you and your audience, if you will, about different ideas as they come up and different proposals that we can discuss perhaps, and how they can be advantageous to that community or in general to the United States. Because, must realize that every project that I draft, most of the components are going to come from America. They're not going to come from overseas. They're going to come from here. And
Nice.
that is very, very positive.
Yes.
Economically on many, many levels.
Mm-hmm.
Many, many levels.
Yeah. Wow. Exciting. It's exciting. Now, it sounds like you've really thought this out. You've thought about everything. You've probably already thought about this, but here's my question. As I get older, I'm thinking about the future and where I'm going to be. Do you have a role for the elderly or a peaceful existence for people when they get into their golden years?
Of course.
Good.
They will not have any pressure. They will be assured food and substance no matter what their economic condition is. I don't care.
Awesome.
They will be taken care of. They will be taken care of by professional nurses, doctors, with no cost, because those people will be working with twins and benefiting from twins in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea. No one is to struggle anymore. It is just not necessary. Really isn't. Because we have ways to make it different in our life.
Mud Rabbit says we have a lot to contribute. Yes, we do. Do you want to? Do you want to take calls?
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
Well, I'll put the link into the chat here, and and if you can make it a question about the Twins project, all right, that would be great. And Jan will do his best to answer it. So while we wait for people to call in,
okay,
I guess we'll just continue. So there will be a place for the elderly. Obviously, probably daycares too. I used to work at a couple daycares. That's really
yeah, of course,
really important.
Again, our civilization, we're all human. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in your elderly years, then you're near the end of the journey that you chose to have to learn whatever it is that you learned in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're done, and you check out. But it's not the end. That is an important thing to really come to understand.
Mm-hmm.
This is a continuation. When we check out from life, we're continuing. We're not ending anything. Because realistically, as time goes forward, as we create time to be, and we time travel, as you know we are capable of doing, and come back to this timeline and this timing, you're going to see yourself here. Still here.
Mm-hmm.
Because time is simultaneous. It's not linear.
Right.
And it all exists at the same moment, if you will. So, yes, being old or just being born, in both cases, it's a journey, part of the journey that that particular non-physical soul chose to have to experience in physical form. And by the way, it's not always physical form. We have up to as many 10,000 lifetimes, by the way, to experience and to learn all that is.
Mm-hmm.
And when we probably get to knowing all that is in that reality, we probably then have only one thing left to do, and that's to become kind of an oversoul, if you will, and create other souls like we are to investigate how we learn all that we know. It's so inventive, it's unbelievable. It never ends. Never. So it's all quite fascinating to me, our lives, because these are basically journeys that we chose to have in our evolution as ascending beings.
Mm-hmm.
And you never go back. You don't go back. You never go back. It's always progressive, always going forward in a sense. Even though sometimes it looks like you're standing still, you're not. Because even standing still is part of your required progression
Mm-hmm.
that your higher self knows to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
you don't as personality. So this is how it seems to work here. And I believe that that kind of understanding needs to be practiced, if you will, in an environment where that is the basic fundamental rule. That each and every one of us is personally responsible for our life. And as such, you look at things different because you start to act different. Because whatever you see before you, you already know that you created it. And now you need to just choose to decide how it feels. If it feels good that you want to progress and continue with it, you do that. But if there's anything uncomfortable with it, is where you learn not to ask yourself why, but you just walk. That's the way to handle it. Because if you ask yourself why, you're staying in the arena. And you're looking to find a reason to stay uncomfortable, if you will. So this is how we seem to operate, which I think is a great gift. We're wonderful, wonderful beings. Not only humans, all living entities and beings in the universe, no matter what life form they chose to have, or non-physical life form, if you will. Because we do everything. There's nothing we're limited to.
Right.
And now here we are.
Now I know Buckminster Fuller had visions of the future. Of course, he had the dome homes, which, whenever there's a hurricane, the only thing left are the dome homes, right? So,
Right.
And that's why, probably why you have the domes on your things too, because it's the sphere is the strongest structure in nature. So, if you want to make something strong, make it dome shaped.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're taking the climate out of the arena, if you will. That's why you can build these anywhere and everywhere. And the climate will no longer be a factor. And why it's important to do it, like I said, in Moscow and in Kiev.
Mm-hmm.
These are terrible climates there, very cold, unbearable winters and such.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put the population into these self-sustaining dome complexes, the weather's no longer a factor, and people will live decently and have a wonderful life.
Sounds groovy. Sounds wonderful.
Well, I think that's the wise focus, is to focus on construction in that part of the world, not destruction.
Yes.
And that's what I feel I want to do with this, why I drafted this Euro project idea. It's not that much money to do. It's only $8 billion to do those two, Kiev and Moscow, with the tubes.
Mm-hmm.
A little over $8 billion. That's fucking nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They do that in a month with their oil sales and stuff.
Sure.
So realistic. The only thing is, there's nobody for profit behind it. Okay, so that's going to be the challenge for them, because they're going to look to see how they can make money out of it on a personal level in some way.
Right.
But I'm not going to allow it that way on a cash basis, but we will give them the right to have equity, you see.
Uh-huh.
And that way they can participate and benefit from the two structures, not just from one of them. And that way it can also begin the program to expand onto Europe from that location in Kiev. And that's a very significant project. That's going to cost like over $80 billion. But that's a different program, because first things first, I'd like to see peace between those two countries, just those locations.
Yeah.
And bring peace by building something that's peaceful and very, very productive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win-win. There's no loser here. It's a win-win for both. So that's the best we can do right now, Aaron, is make the proposal, expose it to, I'll even send it to their diplomats, because I don't have a problem doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that the diplomats are politicians, so they look for money. They don't look for the right or the wrong thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
They look for money.
Dark Brain has a question. Dark Brain has a question. How does one heat such a large dome? Free energy of some form would be great. Yes. I don't know.
Yes. All the energy is free. There's no cost, because we are going to produce self-sustaining and self-producing electric systems, power systems, because the whole idea is to be totally self-sustaining indoors in the units. And as far as the domes, they're keeping the place hot or cold.
Mm-hmm.
The domes are retractable.
Okay.
So during good seasons and such, we'll have access and exposure to the climate, which will be very pleasant, of course.
Mm.
And if the climate shifts and it goes on to a winter stage or whatever might be less accommodating, we close the domes, and those inside continue to live very, very comfortably, because the domes will trap the heat, of course.
Right.
So it'll be perfect. It'll work out very, very well. Did I answer the question?
Yes. I think so. I have another question. Is a portion of this going to be underground so you can access some of that cooler or the heat of the earth?
Yes, actually. The tubes are all underground. They're down to at least 150 feet or so. So that's one component. The body of the stations of these complexes. The primary portion that's above ground is just the dome portion, the domes. And the rest of it is below ground. If you look at the photo of the oceanic figure 1,
right,
you can see that if it goes down only to where just below the tube system is, between that and the very upper portion where you see the domes, it's underground.
Right. That's why I asked that. Yeah, and the tunnels are underground too.
Yes.
So I suppose you're going to have to find out where all the existing tunnels are so you don't run into those ones, right?
When you go underneath 150 feet, you mean?
Yeah, apparently, according to some whistleblowers, there's been a whole system of underground tunnels all over the place connecting different places, but it's several hundred miles down or I don't know how many miles,
Yes.
but many miles down.
Yes, I am aware of that.
Okay.
But not all the tubes need to be underground.
Okay.
Okay, some of them will be overground on the surface, but still, where they connect to the units will be underground.
Okay.
At short distance, just to keep it secure. And then it comes up above ground if that's what we choose to do. And the reason we might actually do that is because the cost of overground versus underground is half.
Okay.
Overground is half the cost of underground. Because underground you have to drill tunnels in many cases. There's other factors that you have to come across that you're not aware of until you get there. So yes, we will do this overground and underground, depending on the location and what will be accessible.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You know, those tubes, when they go up above the ground, I'd like to see at least one loop-the-loop, like the old Hot Wheels track, so you can have a little fun while you get there. I don't know if that'd be feasible or not. Maybe not, but my mind is...
To do what?
I like a loop-the-loop. You know, like you go...
Well, you know, these are basically transport units, the tubes and the capsules inside.
Uh-huh.
But the entertainment element is in the complexes. There's entertainment complex, there's entertainment, there's everything that you can imagine that we would like to have. Restaurants, entertainment facilities, educational facilities, sports facilities, all the things that we would like to have, as we do have. This is why it needs to be at least 5 square miles, the facility. And very secure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a security system, of course, for all the complexes.
Sure.
Because we cannot have anything intruding or damaging the units. But so we'll develop defensive weaponry, if you will, which will be shields, in effect, shield technology of some kind to protect the units. Because we're not interested in destroying anyone. We just want to protect ourselves. And welcome to discuss that idea with anyone.
Yeah. Well, I think
we're not going to. Yeah.
It's a great idea. You know, thinking about other investors that might want to make money, one possible way you might consider, I don't know if you would or not, but I'm envisioning, like, when you get some of these tunnels done, some people might want to try it out, and before they join the T.W.I.N.S program, and maybe you could, you know, let them try it out. Hey, you're going to from New York to LA, try the tunnel, and maybe you'll like it and you can come and join us. But for now, it's this much of a fee, and that's how much money you'd make, and the investor would make a little money, maybe.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I also understand the motive for these investors. They don't care. They care about their money. They care about securing their money.
Right.
That's really their primary focus, no matter what they say.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much they tell you, they love the idea. They want to see people be happy.
Right.
But if it comes to their money, they're not going to let it go so quickly.
Right.
Unless there's a way they can see that their money is secure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the approach I'm taking.
Okay.
Is by providing a program where, let's say in the United States case, the natural resources of the United States will be hypothecated, pledged to a bond issue that the United States will issue. And that bond is what's going to be invested into by the investors. That is basically backed by natural resources, real assets. It's not just a promise to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And those assets that are hypothecated, pledged basically, to the bond, will be secured because part of the collateral, if you will, the natural resources that are pledged, will be pre-sold under contract to end users.
Okay.
That's what makes the collateral liquid. And that is how I believe this will work.
Interesting.
Again, I'm a banker. I'm telling you, as a banker, I would certainly be involved if I would help that with it. Because, and then get a yield on top of that bond, a bond yield.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, have an equity interest participation possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big plus.
Yeah.
And we don't have to build it for them to get in and test it to make sure it works. We know it works. It's been tested.
Right.
In China, believe it or not.
Okay. Wow.
Look at at3.com. That's where the transport component is.
AT3.
at3.com. Yeah. A whole bunch of information in that site. And they're going to be the ones who provide the transport component here.
A as in Apple, T as in Tom, and 3.
No, E as in Edward.
Oh. Okay.
E as in Edward, T as in Tom.
And 3.
Number 3.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Global Alliance Inc. Evacuated Tube Transportation Technologies. Oh, okay. Well, this is really cool. I'm gonna put this.
It's very real. You see, it's like real.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who came up with the patents over there is Daryl Oster. He's a really brilliant guy. I mean, really quite brilliant, needless to say.
Mm-hmm.
And he works with me too on this. He's open to it. Even though his design idea was to build one system all around the world, going one system, one tube, going all the way around the world on all the land. It's interesting. But I told him, Gerald, this is not going to happen. I said, because there's no special interest that's going to be attracted to this. You've got to get people with money to be interested in making money. They can't see any money here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no money here. This is just a great service for the population. And it'll come after we do the T.W.I.N.S projects to show them. But we got to establish something that will attract the investor community and the general public before building it. You have to give them something that's real in terms of pragmatic and evidence that components already exist in reality.
Mm-hmm. That's
why this ET3 link that I just shared with you is important. Because it's real.
Yeah.
That's the transport component we should use here.
Yeah, I got it up on screen right now. That's nice. Interesting. Nice little website.
Great.
Nice little website. Well, we haven't had a call in yet. We've got had some people ask questions, like Dark Brain asked that one. Mud Rabbit says, make money worthless. Yes.
Well, money actually is already worthless. Okay.
Right.
You don't have to make it worthless. It's artificial stuff. The Federal Reserve is made up. All this stuff is fabricated. It's not real.
I know it.
It's just a way that, again, that's a control system. Aaron, that's what they do. They set up a system to control.
I like the system they had for the Flintstones. Something was 5 clams. He reaches in his pocket, gives him 5 clams. There you go. Just go to the beach and pick up the clams, and there you got your money.
Well, I do have a financial idea for the complexes too. We're not going to have money. We're not going to have currency like we do.
Okay.
But people will get a It's like a card, a plastic card.
Okay.
But it'll be a debit card, which will actually have value.
Right.
And each month, there's going to be a credit of $2,500 for every citizen of America.
Wow.
Every citizen.
Okay.
No matter how much they make privately from other sources, this $2,500 will not be taxable. It's not going to be taxable. And it's going to be issued, the card, the plastic card, will be issued from the Department of Commerce, not from the Federal Reserve. Will not be connected to it.
Oh, good.
Because this is about commerce.
Good. Some kind of blockchain thing, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And so when somebody gets their card, their citizenship plastic card, it also serves for voting as a way to prove that you can vote.
Perfect.
In addition to, I mean, that's what it's for.
Oh, yeah.
So, it makes sense to do it. Then every month, like I said, people get $2,500. Don't pay any taxes on that money. But what they do have to do is they have to devote some time each month to doing something for the population, for the population's benefit. Something. Go out, clean something, go do some, stand somewhere, whatever you're asked to do to the benefit of the public.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only requirement to get that $2,500. You've got to give some time to benefit and help the public.
Sure.
That's what you're getting the money for, to help us. So we help you, you help us. That's the way it should be.
Sounds feasible.
I feel.
Sounds very feasible. I mean, yeah.
By the way, Andy and I discussed this, Andrew and I.
Yeah.
Andrew Basciago. And he is very much in support of this idea of doing a $2,500 a month program and making the public independent and self-sustaining. It's just ideal.
Yeah.
Because people, so that's what we're doing.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that Andrew, speaking of Andrew, I think tonight he's interviewing with Michael Sala, Dr. Michael Sala.
Oh.
So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What time is that happening?
I think it's happening right now. Or.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But
okay.
I had this show coming up, so I can't watch something while I'm doing a show. So I'd rather do a show.
I didn't know that. So I'm really happy to do this today, and I really want to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
You're very
to
welcome.
begin exposing this very important, I think, idea for our population and our civilization.
Okay, Peggy Dancer has a question, more of a statement maybe. No, it's Mud Rabbit talking to Peggy Dancer. She says there's also a matter of attachments on the general population. Those have to be removed as well before judgment. Yeah. Okay.
Before what?
Well, I think I got in the middle of a, here's the beginning of the thread. Peggy Dancer says, got to get rid of the demons down there before we can use the tunnels, etc. at Mud Rabbit. Because Mud Rabbit was saying maybe we could use the tunnels that are already there. But I think that the point is something completely different and not dependent on what's already there, right? That's what you're talking about.
Of course. And not only that, we don't deal with demons and angels and stuff. Everybody has a right to be as happy or miserable as they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what she means by demons is reptilians and things like that, and evil beings.
Again, unless somebody attacks you, you can't call them anything. If they attack you physically and you're being attacked, then you can call them demonic or whatever name you want to give them. But
sure.
It's not necessarily the truth.
That's a good point. Good point.
Because you're the one putting yourself in front of that individual.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come looking for you.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
to to be fair to the Draco, if they exist, they claim that they were here before us, and so yeah, maybe they do own this.
Well,
Who knows?
no, that's not true. It can't be. Again, Aaron, I'll go back to the original understanding. Time, everything exists simultaneously. Everything.
Okay.
So they can believe anything they want. They can think they're older or wiser or whatever they want, but it's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. We are all on our own level of comprehension and evolution. And no one is really ahead of anyone else because we all choose to take a different route, clearly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there'd be only one person here.
Yeah. Be boring.
And there is.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the truth.
Okay.
Quest for truth, my friend, as you say. That's what this is about.
It's
and what we're talking about now is truth. It's not fabricated. It's not idealistic.
mm-hmm.
It's what seems to be cause and effect. You know, this is a cause and effect universe, physically speaking. One side can't exist without the other. It never does in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
And positive can't exist without negative and vice versa. And why a problem can't exist without a solution and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, looking at the truth of what's going on here. And now that I see what I see, I want to do something to enhance this that I believe is something that can exist in parallel to this system that is very self-serving. But that's its nature. I'm not going to change it. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
But we can build a new one. That's what I want to do. Focus on building a new one.
Great idea. And like I said before, I think it's really a good idea that it's not dependent on what's already here. It's completely different. It's an option. It's not replacing anything. It's an option. So I think that's the way it has to be done, really.
I agree. I agree. We're very special beings, and we need to start treating ourselves that way.
Yeah.
That's how we see it.
We do. Yes, we do.
And so it begins here.
Yeah.
So it begins.
So,
okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? If you can print your questions and I'll post them up and read them, or you can call in, folks. Terry Hopper says Bitcoin can easily fund all of this too, he says. Possibly.
To fund everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything's going to get funded. But not the way it's been done in the past, where the person who gives you the money owns you. It's not going to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people who put up the money are going to get collateral. And for that, we need the government of the United States to cooperate and pledge natural resources.
Right.
That's it. That's all we want them to do. We don't want their money. We're not asking for their money. Look at that from the investment community.
Mm-hmm.
But we want them to put up the collateral. Once they agree to do that, we will contract with end users, like if it's oil. We'll contract with Mobile or any of these oil progressive companies to buy the product if there's a demand and there's a default. But if there isn't, then we get the money from the investment community and we actually build these things.
Nice.
And actually create a future for ourselves. Wonderful.
Yes. But it can't come too soon either. I mean, I've been waiting for the future since 1969 when I saw the moon landing. And I thought, oh, by the time I'm 30, I'll be able to vacation on the moon. But I'm 60 now, and you still can't do that. So
Politics, that's why.
Yes, politicals.
So politics.
politicals.
It's all politics.
Yeah, it's
And
but,
like a system, they never tell us the truth.
all right.
Never.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do we prosper? You can't prosper if you're not told anything.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yes. So I'd like to, and what I'm doing, I'd like to think is open the doors of prosperity. And it begins with a place to live that a person could call home, and wonderful, wonderful environment to do anything and everything they want.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to, and eventually, when all these units are across the world, that would travel from anywhere to anywhere in minutes.
Dark Brain says, here's what Dark Brain says. If such a project was successful, the principles in tech would need to be shared with individuals who wanted to set up self-sustaining homes away from the group for hermits like me, like him, like Dark Brain. So he's kind of a hermit. So would there be any kind of a way for them to exist under this system?
Again, they could, as long as they contribute something to the collective.
There you go.
Fantastic.
There you go, Dark Brain.
That's
Just come and teach for a while.
There's got to be a trade-off.
Yeah.
If you want, yeah. I mean, if they want something which we're able to provide, they have to give something back to this community to assist the community.
Yeah.
That's just helping them.
Yeah. Sounds fair.
You can be a hermit. I don't care if you're a hermit, do what you want. But you're going to have to come out maybe once a week, twice a week, or once a month or twice a month, whatever it is, to do some effort and work in behalf of the community where you're living. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Terry,
no free lunch.
Terry Hopper has
no free lunch.
No free lunch. You got to work for your lunch, folks. A question for Mr. Friedman. What are your thoughts on the Venus Project, Jacques Fresco, or if you're familiar with him?
I've just recently become a little familiar with them.
Okay.
And I actually even offered to work together with them with my twins' projects.
Yeah.
But they declined that idea.
Oh.
Which is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Again, I see them as a for-profit organization. And so it's not what Twins is. We're not looking to make money.
Right.
Even though there is money involved quite a bit. But that's not what the intention is. Where the Venus Project I view more as more of this system, more self-serving, and more of their idea to be everyone's idea. And that's not what Twins is. Twins is about being free and independent and not controlled or ruled by anyone or anything. The Venus Project, I just don't see that. I just don't. But I could be mistaken. I wish them well. That was the last thing I communicated with them.
Okay. Trans Web Infrastructure Network System, Twins. Trans Web Infrastructure Network System. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Cool stuff. Good stuff.
And at the time, I didn't even have a setup yet online for the Twins projects. I just did that today, actually. Yesterday.
Yeah. So this is fresh, folks. You are hearing this. This is the first time you've been on a show talking about this?
Correct.
So, folks, we're breaking news here. So this has never been on anything else before. So look for it to be lots of places because I think it's a great idea. And Terry Hopper says, thank you so kindly for answering. Terry Hopper is saying that to you, Yon.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yes. Awesome. Well, it looks like we're getting some people typing questions, but I guess people are a little shy to call in. That's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. Sometimes we don't get called. Yeah. And Mud Rabbit says, we're the first. Yes. The Truth Quest is the first channel to have Yon Friedman on. So we're very, very lucky. Very lucky. And thank you for reaching out, Yon. Very interesting.
Well, thank you.
Interesting stuff.
We're all members of the same team, just for all of you and the listeners, and to understand. I'm not different than you. I'm just a different aspect of you as you are of me.
Right.
So
we are one.
We're all equally. Even though this looks like a great idea, which it is, if it came from me, it's nothing special. It doesn't make me special. It just makes me part of the group, part of the whole. Because each and every one of you and me have a different aspect of the collective.
Right.
No one has it all.
We're all special. We're all special.
Well, thank you, but
we're all just as special as each other. We're special and ordinary just at the same time. Okay, here's a question from Peggy Dancer. What about natural disasters like earthquakes, etc., etc.?
This is exactly why these complexes, these twins complexes, are built to be free of earth movement too. It's very important to be free of any climatic change also. It's really important to have this whole thing completely independent and self-sustaining and self-control. Because by doing this and building it this way, the natural elements of the earth will no longer affect us in the way that they are when we live on the surface and are vulnerable, because we are. So we've learned how to build things that are floating. You can put it in hydraulics, so if the earth moves, the unit moves to with it. It doesn't resist. It's when resistance is what causes damage. That's usually when earthquake and stuff cause damage, is when the unit or whatever house or whatever it might be is not flexible. And because of lack of flexibility, it tends to get damaged badly, sometimes completely. So all this is part of the consideration for building these twin complexes. They have to be secure on every level of existence and free of restrictions.
Very good. Dark Brain says, it's an interesting idea, worth a try to see if the benefits and shortfalls. It would generate new and more advanced principles. Yeah, you probably run into lots of new things embarking on this adventure.
Well, that's what it's supposed to do. It's bringing an individual's thinking, thought, and ideas to a level of advancement. Just somebody who's reading this and seeing this could trigger their own ideas about how you could even enhance these ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is to continue to enhance the idea until we actually start to build it. And we will. And we will.
Awesome. That sounds great. This is a great idea, Yon.
Thank you.
Very awesome. Yeah. So let's see. Let me scroll back and see if I missed one. I think I caught most of them.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you want to add? Maybe we should put a cap on this in a little bit. Unless you want to keep going.
The only thing I could cap is that I appreciate this opportunity to share the information and to expose the information and to trigger people's thoughts in this direction, that we really start treating ourselves as a civilization, watching out for each other, doing things for each other and ourselves, not being excluded. It doesn't mean excluding yourself. It's not what it is. Because everyone has to be included, because we are.
Yeah.
And again, just reminding everyone, just look down at your feet and see where you're standing. Before you go into your brain to decide how much better or less than you might be than somebody standing next to you or somebody you're viewing.
Mm-hmm.
We are one people here.
Yes.
On a wonderful trip, and it's up to us to make it that way.
Indeed.
And we can and will.
Yes. I think we will. With ideas like yours popping up, we're going to be in the future in no time, folks. So if this idea strikes you as something you want to be involved in, give Yon a call and see how you can, because Yon isn't just some random person off the street. He's a high finance banking guy. He has access to these people with the big bucks. So it's something that could realistically happen. So it's not just all pie in the sky. Isn't that right, Yon?
Yes. Yes. Except I do not have direct connection to these money people at this point.
Oh, okay.
Because I left that industry a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to mislead anyone.
I see.
However,
I mistake.
These people in Wall Street and such will want to know about this. And they'll hear from somebody, maybe from me directly or indirectly, or from someone who's listening to the program who will share the idea and let them go to the website that I've set up to start to read the information about actual projects being set up and done.
Yes. Mud Rabbit says, I hope we get there soon. And Dark Brain says, thank you, Mr. Friedman. It's intriguing and gives us a lot to think about. I wish you success. And then Mud Rabbit follows that up with, yes, thank you, Mr. Friedman. This has been fascinating. Yes, it really has. So thank you so much, Yon Friedman. And that's
thank you.
Friedmann. He's got the extra N at the end. There you go. There you go.
I'm originally from the Czech Republic. I was born in the city of Prague.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. I'm a naturalized citizen of America, and I'm also a veteran of the Vietnam War.
Thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome. I just wanted to give people a little more information about me that I've done a couple of things.
Well, you're an interesting person, and I know you're a good friend of Andrew's, so he keeps good company. So always happy to talk to you and to come on the show anytime you want. If you got some new developments or just want to talk again, come on back, and we'll do this again. This has been fun.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I look forward to a future conversation. With or without a program.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And peace in.
Same to you, my friend Aaron, and you be well.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.